here. It's a lovely festival. I've only been here since yesterday afternoon, and I'm only performing today. But I will be doing a 2:15 concert over in Sam's tent there to honor Woody Guthrie and talk about his songs, sing a bunch of his songs and a few that I've written. So it will be a totally different set that I'm doing here. I will do one of his songs today. But I'd like to share some of my music with you and some of the music and stories of people I've known and been influenced by. As Sue said, it's my 14th tour of Australia. I do Canberra Merry Muse at 4 p.m. tomorrow, and then I head on a plane back on Tuesday morning to the U.S. A very changed country, right? We'll comment on that at some point. But I'd like to do some, I'm going to do some first songs for you today. When the coronavirus hit, this is the first song I wrote when everything got canceled, including my tour of Australia that October. I knew by July it was done, and all my work in nursing and veterans homes was shut down. And they started putting me on little cameras and iTunes, on the laptop computers that they could walk around to the seniors in the nursing homes. And I'd be able to say, "Good morning, Jane, how are you? Can I sing you a song?" And it was the only comfort they had and the only comfort I had. And so I woke up one morning saying, boy, you can wake up hating life and thinking it sucks, or you can wake up with a song in your heart. And the best thing about that work, of course, is I didn't even have to take my jammies off. I could just sing from the computer at my desk, and they paid me. This song, maybe we'll get you singing along. Rodney, come on in. I could use a good tenor. Reach out through the wire and I hear it as you speak. I see it in your weary eyes, another lonely week. And even though it's all we've got, I'll smile at you again. Every moment on the street slips by like the soft rain. And I can see a sparkle there and you still got some fight. And as I read my grievances, you say I'll be alright. No, that reassures me, so today I'm gonna start with a song in my head, a song in my heart. How's your voices? Sing that with me. With a song in my head, and a song in my heart. How can we make music so far apart? Got a song in my head, a song in my heart. Why am I complaining now? I'm fed and clean and warm. I can't stop this hunger for the warmth within your arms. And I don't know if I'll be back, might not be this year. So sing along with me today and brush away your tears. For I can see a sparkle there and you still got some fight. And as I read my grievances, you say I'll be alright. You know that reassures me, so today I'm gonna start. How am I gonna start? With a song in my head, a song in my heart, a song in my head, a song in my heart. How can we make music? We're so far apart. I've got a song in my head, a song in my heart. I've got a song in my head, and a song in my heart. Got a song in my head, and a song in my heart. That was the first song. Come on in, Hoodie, there's always room for you. There's lots of seats up here, folks. Just got to get in here. So that was the first song on an album that became called The Coronavirus Sessions when it came out in September 2020. And it was the beginning of one of the most prolific periods for me as a songwriter because I couldn't tour, I couldn't work. I stayed home and wrote songs, and then that album we started. 7 songs were in progress when the businesses all shut down in March 2020, including the recording studio. It might have been essential to me, but it was considered non-essential business to the rest of the world. And it gave me time to write songs, and that was the first one I wrote during the coronavirus. Well, a year later, I put out an album called A World Like This. There's seats up here, sir, front rows. Just people shove over a little if you can.
I like the front row.
Yes, just watch that coffee cup. Don't sit on that. And a year later, I produced an album of more songs called A World Like This. Now, what had happened in the intervening 10 months had been the elections in 2020 that were stolen, right? 7.5 million people more voted for Joe Biden than Donald Trump, and he claimed they were stolen, and he still does. And of course, the riots of January 6th, people. Don't you underestimate how evil that was. People forget in my country very quickly. That's one of the problems. They have no memory. 4 police officers died or killed themselves in the aftermath of that. 3 of the MAGA people died, including a guy who tased himself in the private parts by mistake. Serious. I mean, he had a heart attack. He had a taser and he set it off and died of a heart attack. So when I wrote this song as the first song on the new on that album, A World Like This, the world had changed again, but it was a time for healing and a time to hope that that guy was gone forever, and he's not, right? And so this song came out one morning called Let the Healing Begin. Sorry, I was banging the strings a little too much. It goes like this. I've been sitting here for far too long, staring out at emptiness, thinking about everything that's gone. And I keep coming back to things they never told us then. We would see that hate rise once again. Now we're standing here in the near rooms of Armageddon. Oh, let the healing begin. So sing this for the grieving mother, lovers who have lost their best friends, the endless line of people dying, and the workers for whom it never ends. And I keep coming back to things they never told us then. Some of us won't make it till the end. Now we're standing here in the near rooms of Armageddon. Seems familiar now. Oh, let the healing begin. Oh, let the healing begin. Folks, there's still some seats up here. Just come on in. There's plenty of seats if you just come on up closer. You might get 4, especially the kids. Get them up here if they want to come in. Well, so then the third album of the coronavirus trilogy came out about a year ago, just before I hit Australia again. You know, I couldn't tour Australia in 2020 or 2021. Everything was shut down, right? All the festivals, all the folk clubs. So I just kept working and writing, and then slowly the work came back once the vaccines came in. And they saved a lot of people's lives. I don't want to debate anybody about the vaccines, but I have only gotten coronavirus once in 4 years on a plane to Seattle with a lady sitting next to me for 5 hours coughing and blowing her nose. And I got it 4 days later. I sing in 30 nursing homes when I'm not touring. I watched 65 people die in one home that I sang in, wiped out half a floor in another home, all before the vaccines came in. So I'm a strong believer in their at least mitigating and minimizing the effects of the virus. I haven't gotten in the last 3 tours of Australia either. Nobody wears a mask over here anymore, right? So when I wrote this song is an older song. This is the first song on my last album that came out last year. The album's called This Chain. And I lived in New York City for 14 years, 13 more than I wanted to be honest. Now I live in a beautiful country town called Ithaca, a small city, 4.5 hours away. If you've ever been up there, you know what Ithaca's like. Ithaca is gorgeous. That's the bumper sticker. We have mountain gorges you can walk through right up. Literally, I walk up my backyard, I'm in a 600-acre nature preserve. And, but when I lived in New York City, I was there when 9/11 happened. I wrote this about 18 months before because you might recall the World Trade Center had been bombed in 1993 and it killed 6 people, but it didn't do too bad of damage. It was a bomb in the basement. I knew that those chickens might be coming home to roost, or guessed that they might be coming home to roost. And I'm not going to say that I have ESP, but there were lines in this song written 18 months before it happened about the pile, searching the pile for signs of life, learning to fall or learn to fly. I remember some very sad things watching those people that day from the top floors. I know there are children in the audience, so I'll keep it brief here. But it's a song that, at the time I wrote it, was thinking about that because I could see the World Trade Centers from the roof of my building, looked right down the Hudson River. And I saw them that morning of September 11th also. It's called My Beautiful Terrace in the Sky. Maybe I think I'm just a little too special. Maybe there's nothing that gets to me. Maybe up here it's just a little too beautiful. Maybe I'm way too high to see. The city sounds so far away, so early in the morning, and I can see you sitting by my side. This is where I wanna be when it all comes crashing down. I wanna see it from my beautiful terrace in the sky. So is there nothing left we share in common? Are we from different countries? Why are we tearing down? We're tearing down to save it. I guess I'll check the pile for signs of life. Come daylight, city sounds so far away, so early in the morning, and I can see you sitting by my side. Well, this is where I wanna be when it all comes crashing down. I wanna see it from my beautiful terrace in the sky. Watching the buildings and the villages burning, seeing the borders slip away. Feel like I'm tumbling down, and you're not gonna save me this time. I'll learn to fall, I'll learn to fly. The city sounds so far away, so early in the morning, and I can see you sitting by my side. This is where I wanna be when it all comes crashing down. I wanna see it from my beautiful terrace in the sky. So maybe I think I'm just a little too special. Maybe there's nothing gets to me. Maybe up here it's just a little too beautiful. Maybe I'm way too high to see. Maybe I'm way too high to see. Well, thank you. Now, all my songs are not all that depressing. I'm going to sing a couple, some that will be. But I'm very lucky to have touched elbows with some of the greats in folk music. I produced an album with Pete Seeger, narrating it 6 months before he died. It's not on my CD Sable because it sold out about 3 weeks ago. I only can carry so many on the plane, you know. They only let you one suitcase and a guitar without paying extra. But some of the people I've really been, I'm going to sing about, I hope this name rings a bell, Utah Phillips, a great folk singer in my country. He was one of my best mentors and a good friend, and I got a song of his on just about every album I've recorded since he passed away in 2008. One of his great songs called All Used Up. Now, I know there's a couple of kids here, there's a couple of slightly profane words in the first line. I busted my A for that son of a B. And I hope you don't mind me using the real words. It's kind of fun to do it in a church too. But I saw the Lenny cartoon, so I figured I was safe. One of his great songs, All Used Up. He wrote this about a man he never met. He said he used to walk through the park and he waved to this little guy sitting in the second floor room window of his single room occupancy hotel. And he got the little guy to wave back to him after the third or fourth day, and he went to the clerk, can I go talk to him? And the clerk said, no, I can't let you up there anyway, but even if I could, he probably wouldn't want to talk to you or let you in. He's scared of young people like you who might try to steal his little bit of possessions. He keeps a spike maul handle behind the door to fend off the ne'er-do-wells, so he's likely that you have it if you go rapping on his door. So Utah wrote this song about him. He said, I don't know if it's his story. I never met the guy, but I know one thing. It's not going to be mine, and I hope it's not going to be yours. That's called All Used Up. There's seats up here if you like. I spent my whole life making somebody rich. I busted my ass for that son of a bitch, and he left me to die like a dog in a dish. And he told me I'm all used up. He used up my labor, he used up my time. He spun my body and squandered my mind, then gave me a pension of handouts and wine. Told me I'm all used up. My kids are in hock to a god you call work, slaving their lives out for some other jerk. Yeah, my youngest in Frisco just made shipping clerk, and he don't know I'm all used up. The young people reaching for power and gold, they don't have respect for anything old, or pennies that bought it for promises sold. One day they'll all be used up. Well, they use up the oil, they use up the trees, they use up the air, and they use up the sea. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? I'll finish my life in this crummy hotel. It's lousy with bugs, and my God, what a smell. But my plumbing still works, and I'm clear as a bell. Don't tell me I'm all used up. Well, outside my window the world rushes by, gives me a handout that spits in my eye, and no one can tell me, cause no one knows why. I'm living, but I'm all used up. Sometimes in my dreams I sit by a tree, I think about books and the things that they I messed that up. Sometimes in my dreams I sit by a tree, the kids gather around and they listen to me, and they don't think I'm all used up. And there's songs and there's laughter and things I can do, and all I've learned I can give back to you. And I give my last breath just to make it come true. And no, I'm not all used up. Yes, they use up the oil, they use up the trees, they use up the air, and they use up the sea. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? Now, I know know this name will ring a bell to some of you. Faith Petrick, those of you who have been festival goers. She was a dear, dear friend of mine. She came to Australia twice and toured. She was 98 years old when she passed away in 2013. And I met her in 2001. She was marching in the Martin Luther King Day March in San Francisco. I met her at the festival that weekend. And we were marching with her and my friend Julius, and they were 83 and 84 years old, respectively. And I said, wow, it's great that you're marching in the Martin Luther King March. And then she said, yeah, I got to get on a plane to Australia tomorrow. And she toured. She did the National, the Illawarra Folk Fest. I don't know if she ever came to Kangaroo Valley. Robbie, no. I don't know if she ever made it to Kangaroo Valley. But Faith Petrick, look that name up. Petric. She was a single mother who left a bad marriage and raised her daughter on her own. Social worker in San Francisco. And at 55 with her union pension, she started out as a folk singer. And she was a dear friend of Utah's and a friend of mine right to the end. When she fell and broke her hip at 94 years old, she was called the Fort Knox of folk music. She hosted the San Francisco Folk Music Club in her house for 40-some years. A dear friend of Malvina Reynolds, okay, to name you, Ring a Bell, Little Boxes, and other great songs. And when she fell and broke that hip, I wanted to write her a song to kind of give her hope to come back, you know. The next year she fell and broke the other hip, by the way, and they put titanium hips in each year. And in 96, with 2 new hips, she went on a plane to Ireland for the last time, all by herself. It was a family and friends. But she loved a good song. She loved the Monty Python song. She could sing any song you would name, literally. Maybe not Australian, but U.S. folk songs. And she had a great memory. And so I wrote this song for her, thinking she'd appreciate it if I could get the titanium hip in the song. But it's not easy. It's a lot of syllables. There's not a lot of words that rhyme with titanium. She didn't like geranium. She wasn't Ukrainian. Though she would have supported them. She sure didn't like uranium. But that gave me at least one more choice to write this song, and you may have figured it out. Don't give it away, but if you listen closely, this is the song I sent off to her as she was recovering from that first hip operation. And I sang it to her in her hospice bed a few months before she passed in 2013. Faith Petrick. Dear Faith, I know you've heard this song before. There's so much that needs fixing, and you're now past 94. But for every little victory, there's a dozen new fights more. It's enough to put a strain upon your cranium. Dear Faith, I know the road will someday end. Soon you and even I'll be gone, and so will all our friends. But I know I'll see you standing tall until the bloody end. And that's because your hip's made of titanium. And every day's a treasure when you're pushing 95. You wake and greet the morning and give thanks that you're alive. Yes, every day's a treasure when you're pushing 95. You wake and greet the morning and give thanks that you're alive. Well, dear Faith, I hope you won't think that I'm wrong, or say there's better subjects to get folks to sing along. For every working stiff deserves a mention in a song. And today's your day, and that's all I'm explaining. And every day's a treasure when you're pushing 95. You wake and you greet the morning and give thanks that you're alive. Yes, every day's a treasure when you're pushing 95. I wake and think of you, Faith, and give thanks that you're alive. Hard not to let the tears flow when I think about these great people. I've been so lucky to know them. And the biggest lesson Faith told me was, respect your elders, sure, but learn from them. Don't forget they have so much more experience than you will ever have at your age. Whether you're 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. You know, I'm going to sing a song about my singing partner, Julius Margolin, who I mentioned. He was 93 when he passed away. And we were once in Faith's house in January. It was cold, and she said, oh, let's have a fire tonight. The wood's out in the back, in the backyard. And you had to go through Faith's Victorian house to get down through the basement and wander through all the junk in the basement, get out the back door, and then get to the fire pit. And Julius sprang up and said, I'll go get it with you, George. And I said, no, Julius, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Because I didn't want him to fall. It was dark and wet and rainy and all that. And Faith scolded me like you wouldn't believe. George, you let him help him. You let him help. Old people need to feel useful. Amazing lesson. All right, so this song is about Julius. These are all people I've sung about for years, and most of you have never met him, but Julius was an amazing man, and we made a film about him. I've got the only copies are in the merge tent. We made a film about him a year before he died. He was a union organizer from the 30s on, the CIO, Merchant Marine, all through World War II, 1940 to 47. Blacklisted as a threat to my country by the FBI in 1947. They pulled the Siemens papers after 7 years, including the whole war. Found his way as a film electrician and then started writing songs and singing in the New York City Labor Chorus, and Pete Seeger sent him to the conference I met him at. And if it weren't for Pete Seeger sending him to that conference, I never would have made all the records I made with Julius and the movie I made about him. I might have met him in other circumstances, but I met him at this labor conference where we became friends. It took me 1.5 years to convince him that he could make a record at 81. Now I'll tell you, his voice is an acquired taste, but he wrote some great songs, and there's 3 of our albums back there on the table. And the movie is there. I made a film about him called The Union Man. He was a union man through and through, but he also knew that the union struggle is not just our struggle. We have to be there for the environment, for women, for gays and lesbians, for everybody who wants to protect and keep people safe and enjoy the comforts and the privilege that so many of us, especially white men, enjoy. So I wrote this song when he was diagnosed with cancer, and we were just starting out. He would never let me sing it for him live. He said, you're going to sing it when I'm dead, George. So now I'm going to sing. And I just moved to the city 1 or 2 years before this, and I knew I didn't know I was going to last 14 years in Manhattan before moving to Ithaca. Come on in, there's room. And it's pretty, again, prophetic. The first lines of this song, I lasted 12 more years after I wrote this song. But it's the first song that the lines are, I don't think I like living in the city. A quiet house in the country would suit me fine. And it came true 12 years later. It's called The Ballad of Julie M. His name was Julius Margolin. Welcome. Make some room for folks. I don't think I like living in the city. A quiet house in the country would suit me fine, like a Major's Creek. With so many people fighting for time, and what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. I know a man who overcame all of that and more. Yeah, he looks like a mouse who squeaked, but you should hear him roar. And what's his is yours, and what's yours is his. That's just the way it is. Where are you when we need you, Julianne? You're here with us, and you'll be here till we win. Never easy being seen on the wrong side, but the only side that's right is the one way wrong. And there were many times they'd kick you around, but there ain't no one can keep a good man down. Where are you when we need you, Julianne? You're here with us, and you'll be here like you've always been. Where are you when we need you, Julianne? On every line, in every struggle that you can attend, just an ordinary soldier, Julianne. Now you're old, but still you're out there fighting. The holiest missionary for the cause. You say if God exists, then I'm surely dead, and it ain't no sin to be called a red. Where are you when we need you, Julian? You're here with us, and you'll be here like you've always been. Where are you when we need you, Julian? You're here with us, and you'll be here till the end of your life. And if there is a heaven, Jules, I know they'll let you in. And you'll organize the angels, Julian. Thank you. Well, I'm going to sing you a couple songs by Cy Khan now. That name may ring a bell to some of you, and if you don't know him, you might know his song Aragon Mill, one of his most famous songs that the Furies stole and created, changed the title to Belfast Mill and didn't credit him for a number of years till they were caught. They've done that before with Eric Bogle too, apparently. But he's written some of the greatest labor songs in my country in the last 50 years. And we just produced a new album called Labor Day that's on the back table. I produced it. Let's see, I'll drop some names. Peggy Seeger, Billy Bragg, John McCutcheon, Tom Chapin, Cy and me, of course. Some great folk singers, Magpie from the U.S., Joe Jenks, Odetta's on one song. There's over 400 versions of his songs have been recorded by artists. Over 100 artists have recorded his songs over the years. So Cy asked me to make this album because he was turning 80 this year. And, you know, we've been friends. I've been recording his songs for years, and a few years in the last albums, last few albums. And he said, I'm turning 80 next year, and I can't sing anymore, I can't perform anymore, but I wish somebody would make an album of my songs, including some of my unreleased songs. So we went into his archives and we found 5 songs that he sang, good demos of him playing guitar and singing, beautifully recorded, just him alone, that never made it to an album. And I'm going, we went through 20 or 30 of them. And I said, why didn't they make this to his albums? Because his other songs are so great, But and then I recorded 4 new songs of his that nobody's heard, and then we got Billy Bragg to do a new song called We're the Ones. John McCutcheon contributed Go to Work on Monday. And it's just a lovely album. It's done very well in Europe and the U.S. and a little bit of play over here in Australia. And it's called Labor Day. And the songs are not just about unions, but about workers and about work. Everybody, the common knowledge is people hate work, right? People hate going to work. Well, I don't call this work, but I've been doing it for 15 years now without a regular job, and it certainly is work. But it's a lot of fun. People meet each other. They become friends. They spend 40 hours more a week at work, right? Sometimes romantic relationships develop there. So these songs on this album don't just ring the union bell. They also talk about workers and workers trying to make a living. Now this song, Aragon Mill, of course, is his most famous song. And he wrote it about a mill in Georgia that had shut down. He was a union organizer for many years and an educator. And what happened was he got word this mill with 700 workers in this small town of Aragon, Georgia, was shutting down. And most of the workers people in that town, that being the only job that they'd known, a lot of women were employed there. And he wrote this song from the point of view of one of those women. Where do I go? What can I do at this point in my life, right? They moved to Mexico. And so this is the original song, Aragon Mill. At the east end of town, at the foot of the hill, there's a chimney so tall that says Aragon Mill. But there's no smoke at all coming out of the stack, for the mill has pulled out and it ain't coming back. Now I'm too old to change, and I'm too young to die. There's no go for my old man and I. There's no children at all in the narrow empty streets, for the looms have shut down. It's so quiet I can't sleep, and the only tune I hear is the sound of the wind as it blows through the town. Weave and spin, weave and spin. Now the mill has pulled out, it's the only life I know. Tell me where can I go? Tell me where can I go? And the only tune I hear is the sound of the wind as it blows through the town. Weave and spin, weave and spin, weave and spin, weave and spin. At the east end of town, at the foot of the hill, there's a chimney so tall that says Aragon Mill. Well, thank you. Now, I'm going to sing you one more of his, and this is another one of his well-known songs called They All Sang Bread and Roses. You might be familiar with the song Bread and Roses that came out of the Lawrence textile strike, but this is a song, thank you, about singing, people singing together, and name checks a lot of the most famous labor and civil rights songs. You'll hear them mentioned in the song, and it's just always been one of my favorites of his, and this is one of the ones I got to record for the album. Well, it was actually, I had recorded 2 years ago. And we were just so very lucky to have all these great artists that know Cy and me and were willing to be part of the album, donate their versions of the songs. He had written them, of course, so we didn't charge them any royalties for for this recording, of course. And it's just a beautiful song called They All Sang Bread and Roses. Now don't you think it's crazy, this old world and its ways? Whoever thought the 60s would be called the good old days? But like the weavers sang to us, wasn't that a time when we raised our hands and voices on the line? Sing along if you know it. And we all sang Bread and Roses, Joe Hill and Union Maid. We linked our arms and told each other we are not afraid. Solidarity forever would go rolling through the hall. We shall overcome together, one and all. The more I study history, the more I seem to find that in every generation there were times just like that time when folks like you and me who thought that they were all alone within this honored movement found a home. And they all sang Bread and Roses, Joe Hill, Union Maid. They linked their arms and told each other we are not afraid. Solidarity forever would go rolling through the hall. We shall overcome together, one and all. And though each generation fears that it may be the last, our presence here is a witness to the power of the past. And just as we have drawn our strength from those who now are gone, younger hands will take our work and carry on. And they'll all sing Bread and Roses, Joe Hill and Union Maid. They'll link their arms and tell each other we are not afraid. Solidarity forever will go rolling through the hall. We shall overcome together, one and all. We shall overcome together, one and all. Now, I'm going to sing you a couple of songs from my newest album, my last album before this. I mean, Cy Khan has been in my head for a year, and I'm trying to get him out of my head now. And I try to start writing songs for it'll be my next album in a year or so. But I released, like I said, 3 albums in about 4 years during the COVID, or I call them the coronavirus tragedy, or trilogy, sorry. But this is a personal song. And those of you out there who write, who play songs, who think you might be able to write songs, it's, you know what it's like. It's not easy. I don't sit there writing songs 10 hours a day. I write when I get inspired, and it's not like Nashville's asking for my next hit or anything, you know. And one thing I've learned, I mean, first off, I want to thank all the volunteers here, not just at this festival, Susie doing the emceeing, but so many of you who are in the audience who do all the good work at other festivals. I won't name you today, I don't want you to blush, but I know quite a few of you, and I've met you over the years, and you've helped me out many times. Whether it's a beer at a beer at your, or a nice meal at your trailer, or of course introducing me. So I'm very grateful, and I expect I'll be back. I will be back at the Malden Festival next year for sure. They've already pre-booked me and many other artists. It's the 50th anniversary. Bushwhackers, Rod McCormick, Gina Jeffries, Eric Bogle, George Mann, and about 40 other acts they've already booked. So check out the Malden Festival. I know it's a bit of a drive. But I would caution you, don't always take what a songwriter says literally, When you're writing songs, it's okay to make up things, and they don't always have to be autobiographical. But this one is kind of autobiographical. I'll caution you, the only one that's not autobiographical is the verse about the girl who left me. But I wrote this song called "If I Could Turn Back Time," and I didn't realize that Cher had a big hit with it. So people go, "Oh, you're doing the Cher song on your album?" No, it just has the same title. And when I'm alone in my music room, sometimes songs like this come out. We're all getting older, right? Yeah, I hear it happens to the best of us. Well, Henry Kissinger accepted. If I could turn back time, I'd do it in a minute. I would try to make some fine adjustments to the things I'd find there in it. All the hate that I have seen, I'd speak up where I stood quiet. You can't let the bullies win, and you can't give up the fight. If I could turn back time, oh, wouldn't it be nice? I'd get to see her leave me once, and then later leave me twice. But the trade-off would be that I'd know that love again. All the days under the trees, dreaming of a future when we'd still be together, and these good times would never end. If I could turn back time and revisit my mistakes, I'd recognize my privilege sometimes was behind my lucky breaks. And I'd say I'm sorry for things that I have done, some along the way. All the friends I've left behind, I wonder where they are today. And I'm here under the trees, dreaming of a future when will be together. And these good times will never end. Now it's way past time that I should have said all my records have a wonderful band of musicians on them, but they don't fit in my suitcase, and I can't afford to bring them to Australia. So everything you're hearing today is me alone, like they usually get written, but the records back there are wonderfully produced. I record in an old church named Wilburland, bought in 1997 by my friend Will Russell, just outside of Ithaca. And it's one of the reasons I moved to Ithaca when I left New York City 14 years ago. I actually moved on Halloween night. So it was the last moment. Lease was up October 31st, right? And so this wonderful band of musicians that you don't hear with me now are just all over the record, and especially the new album, the album for Cy Khan's songs. And I can't wait to get back and record with them again next spring. This is another one of the songs that the band did, rocking with a full band, bass, drums, guitars, piano, keyboards, harmonies. We need more tolerance in my country, right? That's pretty evident after Tuesday. Remember, there's a lot of racists and a lot of sexists and misogynists in my country, and I think that had a lot to do with Kamala Harris not winning, if you trust the vote count. Another debate altogether, discussion, but you know, if Trump had lost, you know they'd be screaming bloody murder and storming the Capitol right now. Yes?
George, sorry to interrupt. I had a look at the stats yesterday of the groups of who'd voted for what, and you're right.
Oh yeah, those with a high school degree only voted overwhelmingly for him. Anybody with a college degree or higher voted for her. Yeah. White men, 60%.
That's right.
White women, 60% for her.
And the black women.
Yes. Yep. Anyway, there's a lot of information out there. The important point is that no Democrats have talked about storming the Capitol or stopping the peaceful transfer of power yet.
And almost half of the American voters did vote against.
Well, he only got 50.7% of the popular vote, and that's going to go down even more when the final vote count is announced. He's been dropping from 50.9 2 days ago. Yeah, so remember, the biggest, you know who got the biggest vote? No vote. 100 million people didn't vote who were registered, and that's an argument for compulsory voting, right? This song I wrote about a young man who well, not about him per se, but thought about a young man from my high school who I didn't know well, died under questionable circumstances. There are seats in here if you want to come in. There's plenty of seats, don't worry. And you go by those signs, you know, those crosses on the highways sometimes, right, that mark somebody having died there. And I drive past them all the time in my travels upstate New York. And sometimes you'll see a new one goes up every year, the same time of year. Must be on the anniversary of the death or the birth of that person. And I wrote this song years after coming up with the title, A Cross and a Beer. Because I thought, what if there was a friend who didn't think that cross should be necessarily what actually, you know, represented him, and as a little bit of an anarchistic kind of thing, would go up there and spend a night when that new cross goes up and leave a beer bottle behind. But it's a song about tolerance and a song about, you know, about sometimes, you know, young people don't know where they're going and they don't make it to old age, right? It goes like this. I turn to the mountain, cold wind in my face, allegiance and memories brought me to this place. A young man forgotten by most in this town, a spirit unsettled, still floating around. And each year I come back in the night to this hill. I once made a promise, and I honor it still. These same day each November, a new cross is placed here, and by the next morning, a new bottle of beer. Yet times were so different, and temptation so great. So much was expended to keep us flying straight. And Dan's mom was loving, but his father so hard. They gave him two choices. It was this country or gone. So each year I come back in the night to this hill. I once made a promise and I honor it still. Same day each November, a new cross is placed here, and by the next morning, a new bottle of beer. Yeah, we all had secrets that we kept from our kin. But where do you go when you never fit in? Some say that he stumbled, some say that he fell, but I think that Danny found a way out of this hell. So each year I come back in the night to this hill. I once made a promise and I honor it still. Same day each November, a new cross is placed here, and by the next morning, a new bottle of beer. Same day each November, a new cross is placed here, and standing behind it, a bottle of beer. Time for two more? Thank you. Well, thank you, folks. I want to sing you one Woody Guthrie song. Not a Woody Guthrie song, but a song about Woody Guthrie. It's the only song I'll be singing in this afternoon set. I'll be singing a lot of his songs and talking a little bit about him. But I've been blessed to write a couple of songs about Woody. One of my big influences growing up, and certainly everybody knows This Land Is Your Land, right? We will do that at some point this afternoon, and we'll sing all the verses, not just the ones that made it into the school books. But I wrote this after reading the biography of Joe Klein's biography of Woody Guthrie Alive, the best book about him, because it was written in the 70s when Woody's friends were still alive and Joe was able to interview them. If you want to read about Woody Guthrie, read that book, Joe Klein's book, Woody Guthrie Alive. And, in school they made us sing it every day, or it seemed like in school and camp, at the Boy Scouts, in church even, This Land Is Your Land. And I didn't know what that song was about as a kid. But I learned later on, that he was talking about it's all of our land. It's our responsibility to stop them from strip mining it, from clear cutting it, from polluting it. The corporate interests have nothing to care about in the end except the bottom line and how much profit they make. And that's what he was talking about. This song is called Oklahoma Sun. Sing it every morning like the sun, and the words all ran together till it ended up as fun. All the images forever captured by an Oklahoma sun. That could be the biggest thing a man has ever done. Oh, Woody, you were past it by the time that I was born, and your Huntington's disease had left you frail and mute and torn. Already bound for glory, 1,000,000 thoughts, 1,000 songs. Already passed to leisure by the day that I was born. You were Oklahoma's son, and in the end belonged to no one. Signed painter, singer, sailor, soldier, bomb. Both a father and a child, a fascist fighting Union man. Writing songs and poems for everyone. Though the Dust Bowl couldn't stop you, nor could the bulls in the railroad yards. You found thousands of your people under bridges and in boxcars. There was opportunity in everything you saw. song. Yeah, you were Oklahoma's son, but in the end belonged to no one. Sign painter, singer, sailor, soldier, bomb. Both a father and a child, a fascist fighting Union man, writing songs and poems for everyone. Sure, in later years you staggered drunk, disabled, rambling on. There's so much in your short life and work to cherish and pass on. And though they don't sing all your words in polite company, still I know this land was truly made for you and me. So every time I sing that song, to the old or to the young, yeah, I sing all the verses like I know you would have done. And I bow my head to greatness, make sure they know who you were. And that's the greatest gift I got from Oklahoma's son. That could be the greatest gift from Oklahoma's son. And that could be the biggest thing a man has ever done. Thank you. I hope you'll post some of those pictures on Facebook, those who are taking them, friends, because I never get pictures. I never take pictures. I'd like to sing one more for you, and thank you all for being here. My name is George Mann. You can find me on the web. You can find me on Facebook out of Ithaca, New York. Dozens of my songs are on YouTube on my channel. They're even on my website, including videos live and studio produced for some of these songs. So I like to play to my audience, so I'm gonna sing you this one to close. It's called One Day You Just Wake Up and You're Old. I was writing about myself though. But it was the first song I wrote after my mother passed about 4 years ago. And my nephew survived brain tumor when he was 14 years old. He's 31 now. He was very lucky, but when I used to go visit him as a kid, you know, sometimes as a little kid, he'd go, "Can Uncle Georgie tuck me in tonight?" And his name is Nicky, and he loved golf even then. And he still plays golf at 31. And I used to sing Goodnight Irene to him, you know, and I'd put his name in. "Good night, Nicky, I'll see you on the green." So after my mom passed and I came back home to New York, it was a few weeks after that, and this song got written. It was the last song for an album that was just about finished, the Coronavirus Sessions. And the album was just about done, and this song made it on to the end just because it got written. And it's called One Day You Just Wake Up and You're Old. Best wishes. Thank you for being here. Close your eyes now, Nicky. I got one more story left. Then I'll sing Goodnight Irene and put your name in once again. You know your uncle loves you and he'll be here till the end. But no one knows just how long that might be. And let me tell you something that my uncle said to me. Always stand on principle, and you'll always be free. Choose your best friends wisely, tend those friendships carefully, and then you'll never truly be alone. I'm running out of paper and I'm running out of time. I long ago ran out of jokes and I'm running out of rhymes. And I spent too much time trying to build a pot of gold. But one day you just wake up and you're old. You can sing that line when it comes around if you want, especially if it relates to you. And when your eyes are open, you'll see things you can't ignore. powerful and shunts aside the poor. And once you've had a taste of it, you'll keep on wanting more. But then you find out nothing comes for free. I'm running out of paper and I'm running out of time. I long ago ran out of jokes and I'm running out of rhymes. Spend your life in labor trying to build a pot of gold, but one day you just wake up and you're old. I hear it happens to the best of us. I'm waiting to find out myself. So close your eyes now, Nikki, let me take you for a ride. We'll travel past the grief and loss, come through the other side. If I could spare you all this pain, you know that I would try. George's magic only goes so far. I'm running out of paper and I'm running out of time. I long ago ran out of jokes and I'm running out of rhymes. And I put too much faith in people I was counting on. But one day you just wake up and they're gone, and they're gone. So don't go spending time trying to build a pot of gold. One day you just wake up and you're old. Thank you very much.